Hey, do I sit here or does he sit? How does that work? Betsy, how does that work?
Yes.
I sit there or he sit?
You're down there. He's here.
He's there. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you at least go? The hours arrived. You should do that one time. That'd be funny. Have to loosen everybody up a little bit.
That's right. The hour for convening. Having arrived, all members will please take their seats. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Here.
Bonner,
Here.
Buckner,
Here.
Burchett,
Here.
Caldwell,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
Cantrell,
Here.
Dickerson,
Here.
Dukes, Gamble,
Here.
Gilliard,
Here.
Gordon,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Gullett, Jones, JB,
Here. Here.
Kirby, Lott,
Here.
Mathis,
Here.
Metz, Momtahan,
Here.
Park,
Here.
Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton,
Here.
Stovall,
Here.
Williams, R.
Here.
Anulowitz, Barton, Beverly, Bodie, Burns, Cannon, Carter, Clark D, Clark J, Collins, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Dreyer, Dukes, Fleming, Gravely, Holcomb, Hobson, Houston, Hutchinson, Jackson D, Jones V, Lopez Romero, McCall, Mitchell, Morris G, Huen, Oliver, Petrie, Perkle, Pruitt, Rich, Ridley, Saints, Smith M, Smyrie, Thomas A.M., Wilkerson, Williamson.
Have all members voted and checked the board? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We'll begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge the allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 4th House District, Representative Carpenter.
I'm super excited to be here this morning. I know you find it amazing that I actually know a pastor, so it's a big step for me here. This is actually not my pastor. This is the pastor at the local snake handling church down the road. He's in all seriousness, he's a great friend of mine. His love for God is primary, but his real close second is his love for Georgia football. I'm pleased to introduce my friend, Pastor Stan Lister.
Representative, thank you for that unusual introduction. Thank you, Speaker Ralston, Representative Carpenter, for this amazing invitation to share with you for a few moments today. Dr. King said the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands in times of challenge and in times of controversy. Today, I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your willingness to serve, and I want to thank you for your desire to make Georgia a better place. There's no doubt about it, and I think everyone in this room would share, and those that are outside, that these are very unusual times. They're demanding times. They're challenging times. And challenging times throughout history have always called for one thing, and that's great leadership. There's a moment in Israel's history where Israel was headed toward what Scripture calls a promised land, a land that's a good land. They've overcome a great deal of challenges to get to where they are, and they have one more great challenge to overcome, and that's met at the banks of the Jordan River. And in Joshua chapter 3 records the amazing story about a people of God standing at the banks of a Jordan trying to get across. They need to cross the river, but they also need great leadership to understand how to navigate a very difficult situation. And what transpires for the next few moments is an amazing lesson in leadership. The first thing I would see is this, that God chooses great leaders for challenging moments. The people that led them in that moment was a group of people called the Levitical priesthood. You're here by election. They were there by the appointment of God. They didn't sign up, they didn't choose, they were born for the moment. I guess you could argue that many of you, if not most of you, if not all of you, were born for this moment. Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man plans his ways, but God directs his steps." That no matter how we think we navigated the process and the path to get where we are, the reality is that God leads us. The second thing you see in terms of leadership is challenging moments demand courageous leadership. These priests thought it was going to be like the first time they came to a big sea called the Red Sea. On that particular occasion, one person stood up, raised a stick, and the waters parted. This was different. On this particular occasion, these Levitical priests had to go into the water and just stand there and wait. It took courage. Joshua 3:3 says this, "When you see the Levitical priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant and the Lord your God move out before the position and follow them." And here's the interesting part of the story, because you've never been this way before. I don't know if you have felt that way over the last few days and weeks and months, that we've never been this way before. They're unusual times. They demand unusual leadership. It took great courage to be the first to wade into the Jordan, to be the first to do the right thing, to be the first to step out. In many ways, they function in the same manner that you do. You're often the first to lead. It takes courage to do that. The third lesson in leadership I would see is this: great leadership creates a better tomorrow. My favorite part of the passage is in Joshua chapter 3, verse 5, where the scripture says, "Consecrate yourself for tomorrow. I'm going to do great things among you." Here's what I would tell you. Keep doing the right thing and good things happen. It often takes time to see the fruit of a decision, the fruit of a piece of legislation. Keep stepping in and know that while you're stepping in, good things are happening upstream. Sometimes we get weary and sometimes we get tired. The great apostle Paul said it this way. He said, "Don't grow tired doing the right thing, because in due time you'll be rewarded." Don't get tired doing what you know is right. Even though you meet resistance, even though you have frustration, keep digging in. Don't get tired accepting your assignment and doing what I believe the Lord has called you to do. Several years ago, my last child, Emma, I have 4 children, my last one, Emma, was about in the 1st grade. Every time she would go to bed, she didn't want to go to bed, and she would want to stay up late, so she would try to get me to do things to keep her up late. On this particular night, I was sitting in a chair, and Emma looked at me and said, "Dad, can we pray?" I said, "Emma, go to bed." I knew what she was doing. She was trying to manipulate me, and as a father, I was not going to be manipulated. I looked at her and I said, "Emma, go to bed." She said, "Dad, I just want to pray." I said, "Emma, go to bed." She said, "Dad, please pray with me." I pulled her close to me. I said, "Lord, keep Emma safe tonight as she goes to bed in Jesus' name." My little 1st grader, as she walked away, shook her head, and while she was shaking her head, walking away, not even looking at me, said, "Worst prayer I've ever heard in my life." She got to the edge of the stairs. She took a step up the stairs. She leaned her head back around the wall and looked at me, and she said, "And you call yourself a preacher?" Joshua 3:15 says this, "Now the Jordan was at flood stage, the time of harvest. And as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached their feet into the Jordan, here's what happened. The Jordan stopped flowing upstream." It didn't stop flowing where they were. It stopped flowing upstream. In other words, they didn't see the fruit of their effort immediately. It took time. I want to encourage you. I want to commend you. And as a pastor in this state, I want to thank you for your leadership and all that you've done to make this a great place. Would you pray with me and stand, please? We assemble today as grateful citizens of a state that we're proud to call home. As humble people of faith, we sincerely confess, in God we trust. We recognize today that as people created in God's image, we're blessed to have life, and the beautiful freedom not so much to do whatever we want, but to do what we ought. You're a father, and you've taught us that in you we're one. You're a lawgiver, and you've taught all those that will learn and listen the power of truth. You're a Savior that reminds us each and every day that we're only at our best when we're subject to your will and to your heart. For these distinguished legislators, we ask for godly wisdom. We ask for their hearts to be sensitive to the needs of others. We ask for a spirit of unity today that is committed to working to the common good of all peoples. When you call us on an assignment, you always supply us with the grace to accomplish it. May we all determine here today that you alone are credited with the honor of all that we are blessed to accomplish. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. As we pledge. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Thank you. And I do call you pastor. Let's get a picture.
Lord, yeah. Hold on a minute here. Hold on, let me get the movers out of my arm around now.
Thank you. Tell the speaker thank you so much. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits read the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct. And furthermore, the best definition I could find of optimism was, I go after Moby Dick in a rowboat and take the tartar sauce with me.
Chairman Hogan, the chair on the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of the business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159th moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of period unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order for the business of the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1256 by Representative Buckner of the 137th and Wilson of the 80th. A bill be titled Act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions relative to the registration, operation, and sales of watercraft.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Turner, the 21st, to be entitled an Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 36 of Title 36 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to annexation pursuant to application by 100% of landowners.
Government Affairs.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1253 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Thomas of the 39th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Cannon of the 58th, and Beasley Teague of the 65th. A bill relating to offenses against public order. House Bill 1254 by Representative McLaurin of the 51st. A bill relating to covenants and warranties. House Bill 1255 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Beasley Teague of the 65th, Clark of the 108th, Hutchinson of the 107th, Moore of the 95th, and others. A bill relating to authorization of arrests, use of deadly force, adoption or promulgation of conflicting regulations, policies, ordinances, and resolutions, and authority of nuclear power facility security officer. House Resolution 1634 by Representative Park of the 101st, Clark of the 108th, Moore of the 95th, Allen of the 40th, Williams of the 37th, and others. A resolution urging the Governor of Georgia to join the United States Climate Alliance. House Resolution 1660 by Representative Davis of the 87th. Resolution proposing amendments to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to authorize the county authorities of DeKalb County, upon request of the Board of Education of DeKalb County, to be directed to levy, in addition to all other taxes now levied by law, a tax not exceeding 3 mills for educational purposes. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman on Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate, has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 518 do pass, Senate Bill 527 do pass, Senate Bill 508 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman. Representative Trey Kelly, the 16th District Chairman of the Committee on Special Committee on Access to the Criminal Justice System, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Special Committee on Access to the Civil Justice System has set under consideration the following bill of the Senate and has instructed me to report same back to the House. The following recommendations: Senate Bill 359 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Trey Kelly, the 16th District Chairman. That completes the reports of standing committees.
Well, a belated good morning to you. I had one or two people wanting to visit with me this morning. I don't know. Must be day 40. We're going on now to the local calendar. Going on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. 3 bills on the local calendar are an agree-disagree. Having received the requisite number of signatures required, the House delegations wish to agree to the Senate substitutes for each bill. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
Senate Bill 508 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, Rockdale County. Senate Bill 518 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, Henry County. Senate Bill 527 by Senator Harbison of the 15th, Cuseta, Chattahoochee County. House Bill 1019 by Senate Substitute by Representative Bazemore of the 63rd, City of South Fulton. House Bill 1243 by Senate Substitute by Representative Davis of the 87th, DeKalb County. House Bill 1247 by Senate Substitute by Representative Clark of the 147th, City of Warner Robins.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Efstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Huen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague, Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell, Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes, Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott, Mathis, Metz,
Yes.
Momtahan,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall, Williams R., Alexander, Allen, Beasley Teague, Bennett, Cantrell, Carpenter, Clark D., Clark J., Collins, Dickey, Dreyer, Dubnik, Hatchett, Hobson, Hughley, Hutchinson, Jones J., Kelly, Moore B., Morris M., Newton, Wen, Nix, Petrie, Perkle, Prince, Pruitt, Pullen, Rhodes, Saints, Schofield, Shannon, Sharper, Silcox, Smith M., Smith R., Smyrie, Thomas A.M., Thomas E., Werkheiser, Wilkerson, Yurda.
Members will look at the board and make sure that it is correct. And the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bills on the local calendar. The ayes are 145, the nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. All right, we're going on now to morning orders. Morning orders. 10 minutes total. 10 minutes total. Chair recognizes the majority leader of this House for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This may be the most important time I've ever been to this well. On June 26, 1976, I married the love of my life, Barbara Dale Weinkoff. Dale and I met at Georgia Southern a few years before that. She was my homecoming queen and my sweetheart of Sigma Chi. We've made a life together. She's made me a much better person, no doubt, much smarter than I am. We've raised 2 wonderful young men, and they enriched my life with 2 beautiful daughter-in-laws and 5 wonderful grandchildren. Many of you in this room know Dale. She's continued her passion as an educator and as an elementary school principal by working and being with young people at the Page Desk over the last few years. That has been her passion in her life, to work with young people, and she has certainly enhanced many of those children's lives. There's no doubt that on this day, on our 44th anniversary, I certainly continue to be the luckiest man in the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. Now yield the well.
And may I add, pretty smart to do that today. Chair recognizes Chairman Werkheiser for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually had a very different morning order to present this morning, but Evans County lost one of its favorite heroes and best public servants. Felton Bruton, who died, and if I'd have said Felton Bruton in Evans County, I'd have probably got a lot of blank stares, because he was only known as Duck because of his infectious laugh that sounded like a duck when he laughed. But Duck served for 3 decades in the Evans County Sheriff's Department. In fact, he was on the ballot, and had he won in November, he would have become the first black sheriff in Evans County. When the outgoing sheriff was asked yesterday, the retiring sheriff, to say something about Duck, the first thing that came to his mind, he said Duck knew about community policing before it became a buzzword. And everyone knew him, black, white, and everybody. And when there was a situation that was escalating, they knew they could always call him, and he could calm that person down. Amazingly, he was also known for 4 decades of being at the rec department, where he coached hundreds and probably thousands of kids in every sport imaginable. So, in addition to that, he also owned a small business. So, deputy sheriff, small business, recreation department, and the amazing thing is, he died of kidney failure. And if any of you have ever watched a family member or friends go through this, I watched my mom go through this her last year of her life. And basically 2 days a week, you go, and the hour you leave is your best hour. And as your body continues to build up toxins, you wait for your next treatment. So think about, that was his life for many, many weeks and years, and serving as a deputy sheriff, running as a candidate, serving at the record department, and running a small business. No one would have blamed him to take a break, but that was not him. So if you would join me in a moment of silence for Felton Duck Bruton. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Beverly for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very brief. Representative Dexter Sharper is a modern-day hero. If you have a chance, I'm not going to get into the details, but if you could Google Representative Dexter Sharper and what he did, and I know Dexter doesn't want me to do this, but he literally stepped into harm's way about a year ago when a peace officer was trying to arrest a young African-American man and drew down on him. Dexter stepped in. And it was something that was so heroic, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but I wanted to say to Dexter, shout out to you, man. You're a good, genuine hero, and we appreciate you, but if y'all get a chance to take a look at it, it's controversial, but I'm telling you, you'll have a different respect for that young man. Thank you, Dexter Sharper. I salute you.
Chair recognizes Representative Vernon Jones for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of this chamber. I spoke earlier this week and I mentioned the fact that only love can conquer hate. And I also talked about and thanked the police on this campus, those men and women who protect us each and every day. I was disturbed by a Facebook post by one of our House members directed at our police, those who are here, black and white, who protect us each and every day coming in and out of this facility. That post read, "Clearly the Capitol pays the police to sit around outside the House chamber when we vote on HB 838, which has been overnight stripped to protect those who kill us. Shame, hashtag Klan at the Capitol, hashtag stop killing us, hashtag justice, hashtag we are done dying, hashtag justice, hashtag Rashad Brooks." I am still, like many of you, mourning Rashad Brooks. But to use his name for these political purposes is just flat out wrong. Although that person has their right to their freedom of expression, which I talked about in the hate bill, I disagree with her. And I do think that that House member owes those men and women who come here each and every day, who work hard for us, an apology. And when the Democratic Party came out and said that I need to resign, I was an embarrassment because of my choice in terms of who I wanted to support in this presidential campaign. The chair of our party put out a press release. All the members who felt the same way know I was under attack. but not a single peep from the Democratic Party on this issue. Not a single peep from that person who put that press release out condemning me for my personal choice. Not a single one of you. And Mr. Speaker, I think it's wrong what she did. And Mr. Speaker, and the members of this House, I forgive her. I hope you forgive her. But since she hasn't apologized, I will apologize to the colonel and each and every one of those who are working here at this Capitol. I've had to command a police department. I've had to deal with police shootings. And I've had to go to those mothers and those young spouses when that man or that woman was lost in the line of duty. I've seen the tears, I've felt the pain, I've watched their bodies be lowered into the ground. What is it we've gotten to the place now we don't even like our police officers? What kind of place will we have? This is not an anarchy. Try dialing 911 and see who you want to come to your rescue. Thank you, members of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Kennard for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm excited that HB 426 will be signed into law today. That's a victory lap for us. It's an order. The hate crimes bill makes a very important statement, but in reality, the real work is still ahead of us because 426 does nothing appreciable to address the racial construct of the white supremacist institution in our state and country. White supremacy? Really? White supremacy? Yes. Jesus said that you know a tree by its fruit. I know that's an apple tree because I see the red, delicious fruit on the limb. When you look on the limbs of the trees of the U.S. and Georgia, you see the fruit, the results, the outcomes, and the outcomes are disparate. Across every sector of our way of life, white people and white families succeed more, far and above everyone else. Economically, white median household wealth is 10 times the wealth of black households. Home ownership rates for blacks is 43% compared to 72% for whites. Just yesterday, it was reported that the wage gap between black men and white men is as large today as it was in 1950. Health outcomes. Compared to whites, blacks live shorter lives and live fewer years free of illness. The infant mortality rate is more than double for black infants than whites. Education. 54% of African Americans graduate from high school compared to more than 75% of white students. Black students in grades K through 12 are nearly 2.5 times more likely to be suspended from school as their white counterparts. Criminal justice, there's so many stats here, but let's focus on one. In Georgia, African Americans represent 30% of our general population, but 61% of our prison population. You know a tree by its fruit, and what we undeniably have is a white supremacist power structure that is designed and supported by political power. It's at the level of policy and legislation that structural change has to be made. Dr. King said, true compassion is more than flinging a coin at a beggar, but it comes to understand that an edifice that creates beggars needs restructuring. So for HB 426, I say congratulations, but I look forward to the deeper and more substantial work of justice. I look forward to building with you a truly equitable Georgia in future sessions. We can't, like in times past, just simply move on from this crisis moment and go back to the same old, same old. We must see change. And Representative Cannon, we love you and support you. Thank you, and I yield the will.
We're going on now to the rules calendar. The 10 minutes for morning orders having expired. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 336.
Senate Bill 336 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, Dugan of the 30th, Thompson of the 14th, Miller of the 49th, Kennedy of the 18th, and others. Being entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 2 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to prestige license plates and special plates for certain persons and vehicles, so as to expand eligibility for certain members of the military. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to present the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I bring today a bill about specialty license plates, and there are two of them here, and they run the gamut from one end of the spectrum to the other. Senator Gooch introduced a bill. He's from Dahlonega, where North Georgia College, the Military College of Georgia is, and where the U.S. Army Rangers train their mountaineering skills. He introduced one to get a specialty license plate for anyone who's ever served in U.S. Army Rangers or graduated from the U.S. Army Ranger School. In addition, many of you know that the gentlelady from Smyrna had a bill that introduced the option to have a tennis license plate. It was eviscerated over in the Senate, and it was amended to be put back in here. So all this bill does is provide for two specialty license plates, one for U.S. Army Rangers and one for tennis aficionados. I'd be glad to take any questions. If not, yield the will.
I do not see any questions.
I yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the will. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to withdrawing the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is withdrawn. Is there any objection to adopting the substitute offered by the Committee on Rules? The chair hears none. The Rules Committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Onulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell. Moore B, Moore C, Morris M, Nelson. Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen. Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott. Shannon, Sharper, Smith M, Thomas A.M. Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F. Williams N, Wilson, Beasley Teague.
Yes.
Bonner.
Yes.
Buckner.
Yes.
Burchett. Caldwell.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Cantrell.
Yes.
Dickerson.
Yes.
Dukes.
Yes.
Gamble.
Yes.
Gilliard.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Gullett.
Yes.
Jones, J.B.
Yes.
Kirby. Lott. Mathis.
Yes.
Metz. Momtahan.
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
Pruitt. Rogers. Singleton.
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Williams R.
Yes.
Bazemore. Bernal. Cannon. Clark D. Collins. Cooper. Dickey. Dreyer. Holly. Hutchinson. Jaspers. Kennard. LaHood. Lopez Romero. Lott. Perkle. Prince. Pruitt. Rhodes. Smith M. Smith V. Smyrie. Thomas A.M. Thomas E. Watson. Wiedauer. Wilkerson. Wilson.
Members will look at the board and make sure it's correct. Clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 336. The ayes are 156, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 289.
Senate Bill 289 by Senator Mullis, 53rd to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property so as to remove the requirement that mobile homes procure permits and procure and display decals. This bill had been referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Fleming to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the bill you have before you now is not what it started out to be when the Senate sent it to us, but we're using it as a vehicle to send back to them something that, shock of shock, they failed to move on, but we sent to them with close to a unanimous vote. It's simply a legal bill which says when the legislature passes a tax law, that the tax tribunal, the court in our state that deals with tax issues, will give deference to the legislative interpretation rather than the Department of Revenue. It's a wise bill. It says that we're the ones that sets policy in this state, and you have to follow the law. I don't think 5 people hardly voted against it last time we sent it to them, and we're simply going to send it back to them again in this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You do not appear to have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Shall this bill now pass? I'm sorry, is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 289 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines.
Alexander, Anulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson.
Yes.
Dukes.
Yes.
Gamble.
Yes.
Gilliard. Gordon.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Gullett.
Yes.
Jones, J.B.
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lott.
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
Metz. Momtahan.
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
Pruitt. Rogers. Singleton.
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Williams R.
Yes.
Alexander. Allen. Blackman. Bodie. Clark J. Collins. Dollar. Drenner. Breyer. Donahue. Fleming. Fry. Gaines. Gilliard. Gilligan.
Yes.
Gertler. Harrell. Hawkins. Jones T. Kendrick. LaHood. Oliver. Paris. Pruitt. Smith M. Stevens R. Thomas A.M.
Members will look at the board and make sure it's correct. Representative Kendrick. Any others? Any others? Clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 289. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 308.
Senate Bill 308 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Albers of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Harper of the 7th, Say of the 34th, to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to abandoned vessels so as to remove certain redundant processes regarding unattended vessels in public waters. This bill had been referred to the Committee of Public Safety and Homeland Security. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Bill Hitchens to present the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House. This bill, Senate Bill 308, is very simple and it's very rational. What it does is, in terms of abandoned vehicles in the public waterways of this state, it requires that both the Department of Natural Resources and the GBI do investigations and do remedial work. All this bill does is eliminate the GBI and duplication of services so they can better utilize their time doing other things. And I'll stand for any questions. If there are none, I'll bend in the well.
You have a question if you yield.
Sure.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch to your left for a question.
I yield.
They're bringing you a mic.
Thank you, sir. I don't have that baritone voice that you do to talk over the chamber. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Would you regale us with about 6 or 7 stories of your...
Chairman's out of order. Be seated.
You know, I spent 24 years in the Coast Guard and dealt with this a lot
God,
too.
you just
I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 308 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Estration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Matiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague, Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard, Gordon,
Yes. Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Gullett. Jones, J.B.
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lott.
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
Metz. Momtahan.
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
Pruitt. Rogers.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Williams, R.
Yes.
Beasley Teague. Bodie. Dreyer. Donahue. Fry. Jackson, M. Jones, T. Jones, V. McCall. Wen. Paris. Pruitt. Saints. Smith, M. Stevens, R. Taylor. Thomas, A.M. Turner. Wilkerson.
Members will check to make sure that the board is correct. Clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 308. The ayes are 165. The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 402. Senate Bill 402.
Senate Bill 402 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Albers of the 56th, Miller of the 49th, Honorman of the 45th, Payne from the 54th, and others. Be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 6 of Title 17, Part 3 of Article 6 of Chapter 11 of Title 15, Chapter 10 of Title 16, Article 4 of Chapter 3 of Title 42, and Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to general provisions regarding bonds and recognizance. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Fleming to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I bring to you Senate Bill 402. And Senate Bill 402 does one simple thing. It shines some light on a problem that we have in our criminal justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody who gets in trouble and gets arrested has a right to a bond hearing, a right to get out of jail on bond. And what the judge does, he evaluates the seriousness of the crime. He evaluates whether or not the person in front of them is a flight risk, and then he sets a reasonable bond. You all understand that. You've heard it before. There for a long time in this state has been a particular kind of bond. We call it a signature bond, where the judge actually does not make the arrested person put any skin in the game. In other words, they don't put up any money, they don't put up any property for a bond, because the judge decides that they're not a flight risk, they're going to come back. Well, as you all know, the reason we come down here and meet every year is that we try to solve problems that are created with the legal system that we have. And right now, a significant problem has arisen only in a few jurisdictions, but some judges are letting people go on signature bonds without giving it enough of a thought, and we're creating a revolving door. They get arrested on Tuesday for breaking into someone's house, the judges let them out for nothing on Wednesday, and then they commit another crime on Thursday. Now, when this problem was brought to us, the decision was, or the request was, let's just do away completely with the judge's ability to give a bond without requiring some property or some money behind it. And I said no. That's not a good idea, and here's why. Judges have always had that discretion, and we need to leave that discretion with them. My judges where I'm from don't do this. Probably the chances are the judges or where you're from don't misuse this either. So we don't need to punish the good judges for what's a few handful or misusing. So what we did instead, we just simply changed the name of a signature bond. When you get out on a signature bond right now, the judge can set it for $50,000. That looks like a lot of money, but you know what? It's not backed up by anything, and the judge is just hoping you show back up. We changed it from a signature bond to something called an unsecured judicial release. And that's what that bill does in front of you. It changes the word to an unsecured judicial release. Now, why is that going to help solve the problem? Because now when you go look at a judge who let somebody out that recommitted a crime just after that, it's not going to look like he gave him a $50,000 bond when he really didn't. It's going to have the word unsecured judicial release. Rather than taking away their authority, we are simply shining light on a problem and letting it be aired out a little bit. And if they do that, they can own up to it. That's what this bill does. It is a wise, modest measure to attempt to address an area where we have a problem, and I would appreciate your support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you yield for questions?
Absolutely, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Al Williams for a question to your left.
The gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
My question is, in this state, with people being able to sign off on bonds the size you're referring to, do we have any accounting of how many of these bonds were forfeited or went unpaid?
I think your question probably is going to this: how bad is this problem? How often is it happening? In the last year, a third of the people arrested that were given the signature bonds in Fulton County did not show back up for court. And what that makes happen is that the officers who need to be protecting the houses that are getting broken into now have to go out there and find folks that had no skin in the game and decided not to come back to court.
Would the gentleman further yield?
Absolutely.
Are you indicating that the problem only rests in Fulton County?
No, there's another county out there too named Clark.
All right, thank you.
And it's happening in a few other places, but those are the worst offenders.
Do you further yield?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
This is a transparency bill, is that correct?
Sunshine. Yes.
And all this does is direct the public's attention to what appears to be a financial bond when it's a signature bond.
That is correct.
But it truly is not. Is that not true?
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you.
I do not see any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to yield the well, and my guess is somebody's going to follow me and tell you that this is not a good bill. But when they do, I'm going to come right behind that person and explain to you again why it is. Thank you, and I would ask for your favorable consideration.
You are a visionary. Chair recognizes the minority leader of the House to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, you know, I was sitting in my seat. I was struggling to find the words for how I was going to introduce it. And the previous speaker, he set me up for that. This is not a good bill. Let me just say one thing. I mean, if this was as simple as changing the language of own recognizance to an unsecured judicial release, this bill would be a lot shorter. And if that was a solution to a problem that existed, just changing the name of something, we all know that wouldn't work. We're just going to call it something different. I mean, calling something different doesn't fix anything. But the core of this bill does a lot more than that. You know, it is about judicial discretion. And if you look at lines 64 through 67, you can see the strike, where it's removing the discretion of judges to enter in order to the contrary if they make a determination in those bail-restricted offenses whether they should be released on their own recognizance. But you know, I really fundamentally, when I was a young lawyer, one of my mentors at the law firm that I was working for, he used to be a young protege of a lawyer of great esteem in Georgia named Charlie Curbo. Charlie Curbo taught my mentor that every case had a moral, and that the effective way to communicate what a case was really all about was to find the moral of that case and convey that to the jury. You know what the moral of this case is about? Money. This bill is about money. It's about who makes it when this bill becomes law. Now I want to talk about the, prison conditions. In West Georgia, we are in the unfortunate situation at the moment of going through a COVID spike. Two places are feeling that very intensely. One is a nursing home, and the other is the Troup County Jail. It's overcrowded. There are not enough beds already in there. There are people sleeping in little cots, and in some cases, an air mattress on the floor in the midst of a COVID outbreak. And it's hard not to think about that issue in the context of this bill, because the reality is that a bill like this actually makes handling a situation like that more difficult. I'll be followed by a speaker who will tell you it's a good bill. Might be a speaker in between us that also tells you that it's a bad bill. But let's not monetize the criminal justice system. Let's not make it about money. Final thing, and then I'm going to sit down. You know, in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. And when someone is incarcerated, the whole principle of bail is that before your trial, that you can get out so that you can prepare for your defense, among other things. Because if you think that a defendant who is incarcerated has the same ability to prepare a defense for his or her liberty than someone who is out of jail and out of custody, you are sadly mistaken. It's not the same thing. Money. Money is often the root of a lot of bad bills. And this one sprouted right up from the base. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
You have questions if you care to yield. It's up to you.
I'll yield, Mr. Speaker.
You yield for questions?
I will.
Chair recognizes Representative Wynn in the gallery to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the leader yield?
I will.
How does this bill impact those who are being charged with misdemeanors?
So I think that there will be a speaker who will talk about the impact on municipal court judges, but this bill muddies the water with respect to the process that there is now.
Does the leader further yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that this bill is being supported by bail bonds industry and being opposed by the Council on Municipal Court Judges?
I believe that to be true.
Thank you.
Do you further yield?
I will.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Leader, do you yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that this body believes in local control and looking to local folks for wisdom on how to govern their affairs?
I believe that. I hope that to be true.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Isn't it true that I chair the Fulton House delegation, and I am adamantly opposed to this, along with most of the members of that delegation?
I believe that to be true.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I would just say one more thing before I yield. I trust our judges. And you know, they're called judges for a reason, because they judge. That's the action they take. And no two circumstances are the same. And when we try to use sledgehammers like this to make people rich, we make a serious, serious mistake as a deliberative body. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Do you wish the chairman's time? Chairman Fleming is recognized for the chairman's time, which under the rules of this House is limited to 20 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't take the 20 minutes. Because what I'm about to tell you is simple and where the heart of this bill goes to. This bill does not take one iota of authority away from judges to give a bond if they think it's appropriate. They can let them out for free, basically, without putting up any property or any money. But what they have to do is own up to it, and they have to allow you to look in the records after it's happened, and it will not be referred to as a $50,000 bond, and it looks like they put up a bond. It will be referred to as an unsecured judicial release. The best way for us to solve problems down here is to make a modest adjustment, shine light on the situation, and let the public decide next time that judge stands for election whether or not he has done a good job or not. That's the way democracy works, and that's what this bill helps happen. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is not about the money. It was tempting to me to come down here to you and read you horrible cases of what people have done when they get out of jail and they come back. I didn't want to have to do that because I don't want to drag names into this. I don't want family members to have to hear about some terrible things that have happened again. But I'm going to give you one case what this is about. A man charged with rape and sexual attack on a woman in 2018 was let out on a signature bond. Guess what? He didn't come back to court. And there is example and example and example again of people doing horrible things to other people and a judge letting them go for nothing. And you know what? After you pass this bill, which I hope you will, they can still do that. It's just that they're going to have to own up to it when it happens, because you're going to be able to know what they did in plain English language. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your favorable consideration of this bill. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll. But before doing that, what purpose does Chairman Knight rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, would the chairman who just, I didn't get a chance to ask him a question, but Would it not be true that the chairman was also referring to what was an article that was written last year, 5 months ago, that did a report that more than 2,000 felony charges were released from bond last year in Fulton County, including 35 charges of child molestation and 11 charges of enticing a child for indecent purposes? Would that not be true?
If the gentleman so states, I'm sure he believes that to be the truth. What purpose does Representative Oliver rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry. Mr.
State your inquiry.
Is it true, sir, that I spent a good number of days and nights in my youth as a magistrate court judge, not in Fulton, but in DeKalb, issuing bonds? And the progress we have made on the low offense bonds, misdemeanor bonds, particularly around domestic violence condition bonds, provisional bonds, usual circumstances, individual analysis bonds, that is going to be slowed by this bill. Isn't that true, sir?
If the lady states that, I'm sure she believes that to be true.
I am more concerned, isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, with the real implication on the low offense offenders and those that for the most part end up at the magistrate courts at night on family disputes, neighbor disputes, disputes that are not related to violent crimes. Isn't that true, sir?
I'm sure if the lady has stated that, she believes that to be true.
Thank you.
What purpose does Representative Holly rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that this bill casts aspersions against the judges of this state by judging all the 158 other counties besides just Fulton and placing this new definition of a signature bond, casting it in a negative light?
Well, I'm sure the gentleman must believe that to be true, but I don't read the bill that way, since you asked my opinion.
Yes, sir. Further inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that one of the fundamentals of this nation and this establishment was for people to be able to leave a system by which they paid for their freedom, being of early Americans having to be debtors to England? The fact that we are literally now, as an independent nation, where we're not placing the poor in contempt simply because they cannot afford to get out of jail.
I'm sure the gentleman believes that to be true. Okay. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Efstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
No.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
No.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
No.
Dukes, Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
No.
Gordon,
No.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett, Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan,
Yes. No.
Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall,
No.
Williams R.,
Yes.
Anulowitz, Blackman, Dukes, Hawkins,
No.
Hobson, Jackson M., Jones S., Oliver, Powell, Pruitt, Pullen, Sharper, Smyrie, Thomas A.M.,
Okay, everybody look at the board. Members will look at the board, make sure it's accurate. Okay, clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 402. The ayes are 99, the nays are 68. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Resolution 844.
Senate Resolution 844 by Senator Miller, the 49th, Wilkinson, the 50th, Robertson, the 29th, Gooch, the 51st, Honorman, the 45th, and others, honoring the life of Deputy Nicholas Blaine Dixon and dedicating a bridge in his memory. This bill having referred to the Committee on Transportation, that committee recommends that this bill do pass, or this resolution be adopted by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tanner to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hopefully this will be a little less controversial. This is the last of the annual road naming bills. This is the one that came over from the Senate. We had those from the House that came in late, and we'll send it back to them for an agree, and this will wrap up our road namings for the year. This is done in honor of those in our communities. Many have lost their lives. They're made for officers who have lost their lives and other distinguished members in our community, and I'll read those to you quickly. In honor of the Deputy Nixon, Dr. Tom Price, Calvin McLaren, Joseph Sonny Alexander Vickers, Vivian Harmon, the Kirklider family of Chatham County, Mr. Wesley Frank Weaver, Mr. Arthur Howard Jr., Judge Albert W. Thompson, Congressman Jack Brinkley, Mr. James Jimmy Smith Jr., Mayor Maggie Bell Chatham Cartwright, Mr. Jesse Norman, Mr. William Billy Clanton, Mr. Billy Burnett, Mr. Johnny B. Hall, Mr. Kibley Allen Brown, and one that I know is near and dear to all of those who knew him, Johnny Meadows, Mr. Evans, Major Henry Talmadge Elrod. I believe that completes the reading of those, so we'll take a moment of silence in honor of them. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for favorable consideration of Senate Resolution 844.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Manolowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Efstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A. M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner, Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell, Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes, Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green, Gullett, Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Mathis, Metz,
Yes.
Momtahan, Park,
Yes.
Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton, Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R.,
Yes.
Allen, Beverly, Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Cook, Corbett, Dollar, Dreyer, Donahue, Estration, Green, Holmes,
Yes.
Jackson D., Jackson M., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Laricchia, Moore B., Nelson, Wen, Pruitt, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Stevens R., Tankersley, Turner, Washburn, Wilkerson, Williams A. Williams A.
Members will take a moment and look at the boards. Chairman Setzler. Renita Shannon. Any others? Any other members? Clerk will lock the machine on the adoption of Senate Resolution 844. The ayes are 159, the nays are 1. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 381.
Senate Bill 381 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Burke of the 11th, Black of the 8th, Walker of the 20th, Wilkinson of the 50th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 26 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating the Georgia Food Act so as to provide that certain information obtained by the Department of Agriculture from the Federal Food and Drug Administration is deemed confidential and not subject to disclosure. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Jaspers to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I bring SB 381 by Senator Kirkpatrick. This is the Department of Agriculture bill that allows the Food and Drug Administration to continue sharing confidential information with the Georgia Department of Agriculture. The FDA recently made a move to make this a requirement to have this agreement formalized by law, and this bill does just that. This bill allows our great Department of Agriculture to continue their stellar record of protecting Georgians and our food supply. That's our bill, Mr. Speaker, and I yield for questions.
I do not see any questions.
Thank you. I yield the well and ask for your favorable
The
consideration.
gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Onulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Morrissey, Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A. M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett, Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lott, Mathis,
Yes.
Metz,
Yes.
Momtahan, Park, Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R.,
Yes.
Blackman, Cannon, Carpenter, Cook, Davis, Douglas, Efstration, Earhart, Hobson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones
Yes.
V., Laricchia, McLeod, Pruitt, Reeves, Rich, Rogers, Tarvin, Thomas A.M., Turner, Wilkerson, Williams A., Williamson.
Members will look at the boards and make sure it is correct. Clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 381. The ayes are 165, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 393.
Senate Bill 393 to be entitled, an act to amend Part 2 of Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 and Chapter 3 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the university system and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, respectively, so as to revise the duties and powers of certain law enforcement officers and agencies. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, this is a very simple bill. This is at the request of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Currently, they have 3 lawyers on staff, and those lawyers travel across the state and assist other jurisdictions, typically smaller jurisdictions that do not have the adequate resources or expertise on some of these complicated matters like child sex trafficking, things like that. What this bill does is that upon the request of the prosecutor, it would allow the GBI to, instead of just assist, it would allow them to actually be sworn in on case-by-case basis and essentially help prosecute the case for those jurisdictions. This doesn't create any new positions. That's a matter of appropriations. This just simply allows the lawyers on their staff to be able to go a little bit further than assisting in an investigator, assisting in a case, but actually be sworn in. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Do you yield for questions?
I do.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
What is the difference between the attorneys that the Prosecuting Attorneys Council already provides to provide DA assistance and special counsel not litigation, but in prosecutions? What's the difference between those existing attorneys and the addition of these 3, or the use of these 3 in the prosecution of cases from the GBI?
Well, it would just be essentially allowing the GBI the same ability to assist like Prosecuting Attorneys Council can. And since the GBI has some narrow focuses, there are some issues where they are tremendous experts in and potentially have more expertise than even other than Prosecuting Attorney Council's resources may have. It just creates a synergy there. So.
Chair recognizes Representative Al Williams to your left for a question.
The gentleman yield.
I do.
I appreciate you not bringing the big book back today. Haven't done your homework.
I did this for you. I did not do that for you.
Lord, forgive him this time.
I've been telling people for years that you can bring the power, Al.
You can get up, rise, and be recognized, son. Come on out from under there. I got you covered now.
Now I'm really nervous.
I believe the gentleman will yield again. Don't.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, kindly. I appreciate you. I'm going to follow through a question form. Is it not so that what the chairman of Appropriations Committee of our subcommittee has said is true in the point that we dive real deep in the budget, and we reviewed the requests of the GBI very, very closely in these times that we're cutting.
That's you this time.
I think every time we mention budget, we have a little trouble. Whoever that is whispering in this thing. Oh, wow. I forgot my question.
Good. Mr. Speaker,
On second thought, man, just go sit down. Just go sit down.
On that, I will yield this well.
I've never seen anybody leave the well that quick before. Okay, no gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Bodie, you wanna get up here and talk? Chair recognizes Representative Bodie to speak to the bill.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very short because of our technical difficulties right now. First, I would like to say that this speech that I'm going to give today, which is really not a speech, is going to be very short. In regards to SB 393, it's not an anti-law enforcement nor an anti-GBI speech. This is just a simple speech about separation and keeping duties separate. Law enforcement investigators and prosecutors traditionally have separate duties. Law enforcement officers investigate and gather evidence. Prosecutors weigh the evidence that they gather. And and prosecute those cases. This bill would potentially muddy the waters because investigators would also be acting like prosecutors. And so this bill attempts to give 3 GBI lawyers in their law division or legal division the opportunity, I guess, and the right to also prosecute cases. That will almost be like your local law enforcement or sheriff's office also having prosecutors in their office prosecuting cases. So not only you're going to be investigating the case, you're also going to be prosecuting the case. And some would say that's potentially a conflict of interest. Now I'm going to read you directly from the GBI home page on their website exactly the duties and vision statement of our GBI. It says, "Welcome to the GBI. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, is an independent, remember, independent state agency that supports the state's criminal justice system in areas of criminal investigation, forensic, laboratory services, and computerized criminal justice information." The key words, 2 key words, independent and supports. If we allow this bill to pass today, the GBI would no longer be just supporting and being independent, they will be a part of the case itself. Because at that point in time, they will be involved in an investigation potentially, and also they will also be involved with testifying at trial potentially, and they also would be involved in the day-to-day of that investigation. We have to keep both entities separate. The police force and GBI would collect the evidence, and at that point in time, they would turn the evidence over to the DA to prosecute the case. It's just that simple. It's how we always done it. Now, if you're going to have anyone that wants to be involved with taking over a case or assisting, we have what we call the Attorney General's office, and they should be brought in because they're the law division of this state. And if they need to have any other assistance for anyone, the Attorney General has that constitutional duty to do that. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'm asking every member in this House to vote no to this bill. And I will yield for questions at this time.
You have a question?
Yes.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves to your left for a question.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Representative Bodie, are you familiar with how the FBI operates and how they have operated for a very long time, in that they have special investigators working directly with prosecutors side by side throughout the life of the case? And further, are you familiar with the current powers of any district attorney in this state to issue no arrest bench warrants, and that as I brought up a couple of days ago, I didn't think I'd get 2 chances to do this, that what Paul Howard has currently done in Fulton County on the recent case here is exactly what you're arguing he should not be able to do. Aren't those things true?
Well, I can't speak for the district attorney of Fulton County, and I can't speak for the FBI, but in the state of Georgia, traditionally we have had a separation of both, and we need to continue to have that, Mr. Representative. I'm not disputing what's happening in other areas as far as the federal government, but traditionally how it's been done in the state of Georgia, we have the DA's office that prosecute cases, and we have law enforcement officers who investigate cases. It's just really that simple, Mr.
Do you
Representative. Yes.
Are you or are you not familiar with the process that district attorneys, the power they have called the no arrest bench warrant process? Are you or are you not familiar with that?
Well, I am familiar with it, and when you speak of that, Mr. Representative, it still is the decision and discretion of the DA, even in issuing those warrants or not issuing those warrants. And I know in this particular case, a lot of people may have a heartburn about DA Howard and how he proceeded with the case. And I'm not here to argue the validity of that because I'm not DA Paul Howard. But I'm here just to state the facts of what we have currently in law today on how we prosecute cases and how cases are investigated. And I have not heard a good reason for not allowing the AG to take on these duties if these local law enforcement agencies and DA's office need supplemental assistance.
You yield for one more question?
Yes, Mr. Representative.
Is it not true that I've been down here 6 years and I've never heard anybody in this body or the body across the hall talk about the need to remove a district attorney's ability to issue no arrest bench warrants and commence cases? Isn't that true?
Well, I would say, Mr. Representative, I don't know if you have had that opportunity to hear or not hear that, but I would say this, that this bill did not go through the Committee of Judicial Non-Civil, so I would say that I did not get the opportunity to vet this bill because I would have brought all these concerns up during the committee hearing.
No further questions.
With that, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, you do have a question.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield the well at this time.
He's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 393 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yurda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Huen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
No.
Bonner, Buckner,
No.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
No.
Dukes,
No.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
No.
Gordon,
No.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lott, Mathis, Metz,
Yes. No.
Momtahan, Park,
No.
Pruitt, Rogers, Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall,
No.
Williams R., Bazemore,
No.
Carpenter, Henson, Hobson, Hughley, Jones V., Couch, LaHood, Lopez Romero, McLaurin, McLeod, Oliver, Parrish, Pruitt, Sharper, Welch, Walensky.
Members will look at the board and be sure it's correct. Any others?
Oliver.
Representative Oliver is voting no. Any others? Clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 393, the ayes are 99, the nays are 69. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Representative Reeves for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 912.
Representative Reeves has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 912. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 912 to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the programs and protections for youth and children so as to authorize foster parents to arrange for short-term babysitting.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves to explain his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello again, everybody. And I'm pretty sure that this bill is not going to have anything to do with Paul Howard. So this is a defects foster care bill. House Bill 912 originally passed the House unanimously, which is the babysitter bill that allows for foster parents some flexibility in short-term care for foster kids. And in the process, this bill has, in order to consolidate some measures that are related to make our session more efficient, we've consolidated some of the defects bills. And so this bill now holds Senate Bill 335, which is a bill that creates some efficiencies in our defects and foster care system. It codifies an existing rules and reg that allow defects the ability to set training hours based on the experience of the foster care parent or the respite volunteer. And it also significantly it adds in an attorney conflict provision. One of the biggest problems in parental termination hearings is that everybody is ready and good to go and everybody's in court, but because of the way the conflict proceedings go, the attorney that one of the attorneys is end up stuck in a courtroom in some other county on a different case and is just sitting there but cannot go and attend the hearing that is waiting on him or her. And a lot of times what that means is everybody is ready and good to go, and then the hearing has to end up getting rescheduled because of the way attorney conflicts work. And this will prioritize defects cases, which will create a tremendous efficiency and is going to benefit everybody in the system. I'd be happy to yield for questions, Mr. Speaker.
I do not see any questions.
I yield the well. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You do have a question.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson in the gallery.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is this the bill that requires or lowers the requirement for foster parent training hours?
No, it's not. It codifies what is already in rules and regs, which in rules and regulations right now, defects is allowed to set the hours of training. So this just simply puts it in code. And as we discussed, I know this issue was raised in committee, and as we discussed, a foster parent or a respite worker has access and the ability to obtain as much training as they want. One of the things that we have experienced and that Director Rawlings is advocating for this change, particularly with respite workers, is that no matter how many years they've been doing it, they're required by the rules and regs right now to do 15 hours, and the goal is to reduce that. If a person is well experienced and knows what they're doing, they don't need to take a whole weekend and do that. So that is going to be a change that's going to be made, and this simply looks to codify it, but it doesn't actually reduce anything. It just moves over the rules and regs into code.
Do you further yield?
I do.
So can I go back to what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
That the goal is to reduce foster parent training hours?
Mm-hmm. No, actually, I did not. All right, I'm going to clarify what I said. Obviously, the goal of this state and the goal of DFACS is for every foster parent and respite worker and any volunteer or worker within the DFACS system to be adequately trained. So the goal is not to categorically reduce all training, but we are seeing, when I say turnover, I mean certain folks involved in the program that have been involved for a long time decide that they're not going to do it anymore because of some of the requirements that they have to go through. And that is a tragedy. And that is something that we can't lose good people because we make them sit through 15 hours of training to be a respite worker when they've been doing it for years. And so if it defects discretion, if they want to reduce that number, then I believe we need to equip them with the ability to do what they think is best to do in order to retain the workers and the volunteers and the helpers. We need more people doing these services. And if working with that will help that, then I think that's the greater good here.
Do you further yield?
I do.
Is it not true that I am a licensed social worker for the past 20 plus years?
I believe that is true.
Is there any effort by the state to reduce my required hours every year of training because I have 20 years of experience?
So is there any effort to do what? Say that again.
To reduce the amount of hours required for licensed individuals who have 20, 30, 40 plus years of experience.
I don't know about, as far as social workers go, I don't know the answer to that question, but if you feel that is something that is appropriate, then I think that it would be, this is the building to discuss that and to look at that issue and see if that would be appropriate moving forward.
Do you further yield?
I do. One more time.
It's not a feel. I am required to do 30 hours of ongoing education every 2 years to keep my license.
Mm-hmm.
And with foster parents who take care of our most vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
I am very concerned at any effort to reduce the amount of foster parent trainings because it's not me on the news when a child dies.
And I understand your position, but I will say that if we're going to improve our foster care system and if we're going to try to rebuild what is in some ways a broke-down machine, we have to stop legislating to the 0.1%. And we have got to build our foster care system around the 99.9%. Mr. Speaker, thank you. I will yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute, House Bill 912, all those in favor will vote yes, those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll. What purpose does Representative Kelly rise? State your inquiry.
Isn't it known, Mr. Speaker, that we have a shortage of foster parents willing to serve in this state?
I believe that to be true.
In further parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State it, your inquiry.
Shouldn't we work to make that system easier for them so that we have more people willing to serve the children of our state?
Well, the gentleman makes a good point. What purpose does Representative Hutchinson rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true in the state of Georgia that we are lacking in social workers and mental health professionals in Georgia?
If the lady so states, I'm sure she believes that to be true. All right, clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll. We're voting on the motion.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Benton, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Abstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Morris C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
No.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes, Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott, Mathis,
Yes.
Metz,
No.
Momtahan,
Yes.
Park,
No.
Pruitt,
Yes.
Rogers, Singleton, Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R.,
Yes.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Bennett, Beverly, Bodie, Cannon, Carpenter, Carter, Clark D., Clark H., Clark J., Cooper, Drenner, Fleming, Jackson M., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, McLaurin, Paris, Rogers, Walensky, Wilson.
Members will look at the board and make sure it's accurate. Clerk will lock the machine on the gentleman's motion. The ayes are 134, the nays are 31, and this House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 912. Chair recognizes Chairman Heath Clark for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we disagree to the amendment by the Senate on House Bill 914.
Chairman Heath Clark has moved that this House disagree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 914. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 914 to be titled an act to amend Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating professions and businesses so as to provide for military spouses licensed in other states to practice certain professions and occupations to obtain a license by endorsement to practice in this state.
The chair recognizes Chairman Clark to explain his motion.
Members, yesterday at the last minute in the Senate, a senator added an amendment to this bill without talking to me or the Senate sponsor of the bill. We believe that it's not germane to the bill. It's, we're dealing with professional licenses for military spouses, and the amendment was dealing with crematory practices. So we're moving to disagree and send it back to the Senate. So that's the motion.
On the gentleman's motion that the House disagree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 914, is there any objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and this House has disagreed. The chair recognizes on a point of personal privilege the chairman of the House Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee, Chairman Tom McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ron asked me yesterday if it was my last time in the well, and I thought it might have been, but then the boss had other things in mind. I thought my last session was never going to end. I didn't know if it was because y'all didn't want me to leave or didn't want to get rid of me or what, but anyway, I'm glad to be back with y'all that I call friends. There's so many people that all of us need to thank, and I don't want to belabor the point because I know that I'm taking up time for dinner, but I am going to talk just a second. The number one person that I need to thank is my wife, Jane. She almost single-handedly raised 3 kids and kept the animals on the right side of the fence while I was off up here and all over the state doing stuff. And then Al and Katie, Al was 5 years old and Katie was about 6 months old when I got elected. They have never known any other life than what this is. And their spouses, Rachel and Bristol, but the best thing dealing with young'uns is having grandyoung'uns. And Wynn and Wilkes, I love you babies. And then most of you don't know our oldest son named Bud. Bud was confined to a wheelchair, and we brought him up here. And he has pictures made with different governors and a lot of the speakers, and I appreciate everybody that took time to treat Bud just like he was a normal kid, which in my eyes he was. Nobody can tell me what normal is. But the people back home that let me do this for 26 years, all of y'all that is now and has been on the Ag Committee, we try to be the most nonpartisan committee as far as arguing goes, because what we talk about, each and every citizen in the state of Georgia has to have, and that's something to eat and something to wear and somewhere to live. And then all of y'all members that are here today and has been, I just appreciate you letting me be your friend and helping us take care of ag. And in the future, when an ag issue comes up, I want you to remember WWTD, what would Tom do? So y'all keep on taking care of what the biggest industry in the state. And the folks out in the hall, first off, I want to thank is the troopers and the Capitol Police for looking after us and taking care of us and protecting us all of these years that they have been doing that. And you know, the lobbyists out there, I'm not going to try to name them all, but y'all are lifelong friends and special friends to my family, especially that bunch that calls down in 228 their second home and hangs around down there. And I hope most of y'all won't be saying, well, we're glad that guy's gone. But I want to tell you another little story about the custodians. If you're not nice to the people that come by and pick up your trash, then there's something wrong with you. Pick your trash basket up and hand it out to them so they don't have to come behind your desk and get it. And there used to be an old guy named John. And everybody just thought John was the janitor. Well, he come to my office and we'd give him peanuts and Coca-Colas. And we called him Internet because he knew more about what was going on in this place. Because while he was pushing a broom and picking up trash, he was listening to everybody talking. And we were nice to him down there, and he would tell us what was going on. He probably knew more than what the speaker did. And over the 26 years, I have had, as y'all do, fantastic administrative assistants. Diana, who was up in Leg Council, was my first one. And by the way, if y'all hadn't figured out how to deal with Leg Council, there's a little girl named Jennifer up there that if you're not friends with her, you ain't going to get nothing out of Leg Council. So she can handle things when Rick can't. Talmadge down in the floor leader's office. Pat, who John Burns stole from me. And she has retired. And then now I have Lee, who looks after Trey and me. And these people, they keep your constituents happy, which is a big deal when you come from the country like I do. But I tell you what has become clear to me is that the ladies in this Capitol kind of run this place. Your AA, your Jan, Holly, they don't want that keep this house moving like it's supposed to. And when I first came up here, we didn't have beepers, we didn't have cell phones. There was phones out there. And people like Alan Powell smoking cigars kept a fog in that anteroom out there where you had to go use the phone. And then we got a beeper and we thought we was in heaven. But then I'd have to get off a tractor and go to the house to the telephone to call my secretary whenever she beat me. And then we got them that you could leave a little message, and then you got bag phones, and then you got cell phones. So that's how long I've been here, and it's probably time to go home. I've been through 5 governors and 5 speakers, and the 2 that we have rank at the top. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for letting me be your ag chair. And I've only sat in 2 chairs the whole time I've been here. One of them was right there where Jody Lott sits, and the other one is where I sit now. And my seatmates, Alan Powell, who, you know how Alan is, and Jay Roberts was my seatmate. And then Terry England, who we were friends way before this life. And thank you and Cindy, Terry. And then Kevin Cook, who don't know that if you don't put a gas cap back on a tractor, it'll fill up with trash and cut the engine off. And I got to admit to all of y'all, my fingerprints aren't the only ones that's on my button for voting. Because sometimes if a fence was down or if somebody was sick, a lot of times, especially with Bud, my seatmates would vote my machine. They knew how I thought. So, you know, you can fire me now. I'm just a has-been. But I'm just telling you the truth, how it was. And this place inside this room is like a big family. I have lost both parents, both in-laws, and my oldest son since I've been here. And when you walk up the steps at the church to a funeral and there's some of your legislative buddies standing there, it lets you really know. It lets you really know what kind of place this is. And I'm not going to get all preachy, but I try to live by 2 Bible verses. One of them is Proverbs 22 that says, a good name is worth more than riches and gold. And when you farm for a living and do this for a living, the only thing you got's a good name, because you ain't going to have no riches and gold. And then the other one is Matthew 6. It basically says, do your good deeds and don't try to take credit for it. And it doesn't matter who gets the credit. And I want you to know, never, ever, never forget where you came from. And I hope I have never done that since I've been here. I will ask you one favor. When you get back home, if you know your Farm Bureau people in your county, tell them Jane is real good and I'm kind of half decent, but would make a good State Farm Bureau president. I miss y'all. I'm going to miss y'all. I love y'all. Good luck in November to all of you that's got to deal with that, and I hope I'll see y'all very soon. Thank you very much.
They don't make many like Tom McCall anymore. Chair recognizes Chairman Beverly for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Georgia House Democratic Caucus, when you go back to your room, you will have lunch in your room. We will not be having a meeting, but there's lunch in your room when we adjourn for lunch. In your legislative office.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tanner for an announcement.
We're going to have a joint transportation meeting during the lunch break. After the meeting, lunch will be provided. It's going to be in CLOB 506. If you could come, this is for the purpose of considering the planning director for GDOT and to approve the joint 10-year plan. Thank you.
Appears to be all of the announcements. I'm sorry, we have, the Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus meet immediately upon lunch adjournment on the South Wing steps for a presentation? Thank you.
Now that appears to be all of the announcements. The House will be in recess until 3 p.m.